Hey guys, Peter here to tell you about the latest from Motor Sister, Get Off, out May 6th on Metal Blade Records. The album has 12 tracks, 42 minutes in length, and this is the band's second full-length studio album. They are an American rock and roll band, or you could call them a supergroup considering the talent and names involved in this project. As far as the design goes, I love this record because it doesn't fall prey to the normal pattern. Strong start, ballad in the middle, strong finish. It's a lot more diverse, it's a lot more stretched out than that. There are nuances from track to track that change the perception of the record without changing the DNA of the record. This makes the album feel a lot simpler, easier for you to connect with, easier for you to stay connected with it, overall increasing the playability of the record. It's an album that's going to give you something different at every single turn. I love this design, I love this approach. As far as the sound is concerned, this album is American rock and roll, and what I mean by that is that it's not driven just by one single style, one single approach, one single uniform idea. It's influenced by a lot of different things, from bluegrass to country, pop rock, hard rock, folk rock, metal. Everything has a role in how this record is put together. The DNA, the main spinal cord, is rock and roll, American rock and roll, but all of those influences are part of American rock and roll, so you're going to see them peeking out here and there from song to song, and this is where the diversity comes in, and this is how they stretched out the record, creating nuances in the design, in the structure, without having to have patterns to it. It's also an album that, obviously, because of that rock and roll spirit, it depends heavily on the guitars and vocals. I would say that those are the two main pillars of the foundation of this entire album. They are the ones that push you forward, they're the ones that give the strength to the songs, and they're definitely the ones that make these tracks memorable, because this is an album that is memorable on a song-by-song basis. When you reach the end of the record and you look back, it's very easy to remember each and every single song because of the differences that they put forward, how unique they are within their own construction, within their own style, within their own sound, and still how well they merge with everything else around them. But looking back at the guitars, looking back at the vocals as the two main pillars of this album, you have to say how incredible the sound of the guitars is. The solos on this record are phenomenal. There's not one that you can throw away, or there's not one that you feel like is just there for the sake of being there. Every single solo meets a criteria of elevating the quality of the song, expanding the track, giving them a lot more power, giving them a lot more heart, making the songs feel complete in their nature, in their overall construction. I also like the fact that the guitar sound is not uniform from the first track all the way to the last track. If you're going to have those diversities, if you're going to have those different influences coming in, the guitar sound has to adapt to it, and it has to match where those influences are coming from and what is the desire for that specific song. And I felt like they nailed it on a track-by-track basis. Once again, the rock and roll sound, the rock and roll spirit is the thread that connects every single track, but that doesn't mean that every single song has to have the same sort of sound, the same sort of outcome. And the guitars throughout this record really elevated the ability to keep that spinal cord intact and still offer diversity at every single turn. Now, as far as vocals are concerned, having two incredible vocalists obviously going to make things better. It's going to make things easier, at least from a listener's perspective. I don't know if that's the case in terms of putting the record together, but definitely for the listener's perspective, this album sounds phenomenal. It sounds phenomenal because you have two vocalists that really complement each other well. You have Jim and Pearl. They know exactly where they are, where they need to go, and they know each other's limitations. This makes them for the perfect combo. I love when they come in and they work with one another and they elevate the quality of the songs by really pushing each other to their limits. But I also really like the layers that were used throughout this entire record, putting one a little bit more in the forefront with the other one behind, and then switching roles depending on the track, depending on the mood, depending on the sound. Really makes this album feel like it has a lot more to give vocally than at first glance. It's not just your pure rock and roll sounding record vocally, it's a lot more than that. It's an album that comes to life, and it comes to life because it sounds like a live record. It doesn't sound overly produced, it doesn't sound overly manufactured. It feels very natural, it feels very organic, it feels very warmth, very textured. A lot of that comes from that natural guitar sound that you're going to get, but a lot of that also comes from the vocal dynamic of Jim and Pearl throughout the entire album. An album that I was really blown away by it. I was expecting this to be a good rock record, but I was expecting it to be more uniform from start to finish. I was expecting one style, one approach, one dynamic, one structure, one ballad in the middle. I was expecting things to be more boxed in, more reserved. The fact that it went a little bit off the beaten path, that it took me into different directions, that I got to experience different emotions, different perceptions from song to song was really interesting to me. Anytime I was listening to this record, I could feel the influences that the album had on a song-by-song basis. And that's what's going to make the album memorable. Having great musicians, great construction, great delivery, but being able to bring all of these pieces together and make an album that feels balanced but still diverse at the same time is definitely going to be a winning formula. As far as favorite songs goes, I want to start off with Coming For You. Great rock track, pedal to the metal if you will. This song has great energy. The vocals and guitar are the fuel to that fire. They're definitely the igniters of the experience as far as this track is concerned. It's a gritty rock song. It has that sense of being a live track recorded in the studio. It has all the elements. The guitars push the energy while the vocals have this hookiness to them. They feel so warm. They have such incredible substance and texture that makes this track stand out a little bit from that perspective. The guitar solo is phenomenal. It makes the song feel a little bit more alive. It adds a little bit more brightness. It opens the doors a little bit. It's a simple track. It's not overly complicated, but the simplicity that it has and the quality of the elements that possesses really makes this a memorable track. Next you have Pain. I love this song because it's not a ballad, but it's a very dark track. It has a dark nuance to it. It's like dark rock, country, or maybe southern twang. It's a song that has a southern twang to it, and in that southern twang there's a little bit of extra darkness mixed in, and I love that aspect about this track. Using acoustic guitar really enhances that darkness as well. It enhances that mood. It gives it a little bit more of a doomy vibe, if you will, in terms of how it moves and how it feels, the perception that it gives, the atmosphere that it creates. The vocal layers add so much texture to how this song comes across, and then the overall vocal performance is phenomenal. It brings the mood down. I mean, musically the song is already coming down, but then the vocals really help ground the track, give it that darkness, give it that sense of unease, that sense of pain. This song feels painful. It sounds painful. The pain is represented in the lyrics, in the vocals, in the music, and everything that brings it together. It's an incredible, beautiful, phenomenal track through and through. A song that really surprised me because of all the attributes that it had. It still was rock and roll, but it felt so much more than just rock and roll. That southern twang that this song has is just out of this world. Last but not least, Bulletproof, going from a very dark, somber song to a very energetic, uplifting track. Bulletproof is just fun and energy. It's an upbeat track from start to finish. The vocals match the energy that the track has. Once again, they use some vocal layers here on this song in order to give it some more substance, in order to give it some more texture, to make the vocals feel a little bit bigger without really having to change that much. The guitars have a bite to it. They have some sort of chunkiness to it. They feel slightly heavier, but that doesn't slow the track down. That doesn't take anything away from the energy, from the fun atmosphere that the overall song has. The bass pops on this track, and it pops a lot. I like the bass sound. I like how groovy it is, how much it grounds the track, and how much of a shape it tries to give to a song that is just bursting at the seams. It's a great track, great sounding track that has a phenomenal solo in it. Talk about energy. The solo on this track is just pure bliss as far as energy is concerned. It's all about that energy, it's all about that light, it's all about that brightness coming in from a song like Pain, that it is so dark, so somber, so painful. This is it, Motor Sister with Get Off, out May 6th on Metal Blade Records. Let me know your thoughts on the band, on the singles. Use the comment section below. I'll be reading those and getting back to you. Take care, guys.